it's good enough. Just, oh man, that is just fingernails on a chalkboard.
I know.
You know, it's like, what, I don't really know what that means. I think we need to sit down and have a discussion. I don't even want to talk about the job anymore. I just want to talk about what is good enough means.
You know, it's funny. The one that used to get me is looks great from my house. And I'm like,
that's that taillight warranty guy.
I can still see it in my mind. And it's funny because
they'll sheetrock over it. That's another one. Yeah. Oh boy.
Well, even one of the first plumbers that I worked with, who is, I mean, a stickler for, he's the one that taught me all letters are turned up. They face the same direction.
Oh, man,
no hub bands go the same way. But when you'd ask him, hey, how's that look? He'd say 30,000 feet up in an airplane, it looks great. It's like, I don't care how it looks from up there. But that was his attitude.
Right.
But when it came time to do it, it was perfect every single time. Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks. So how'd you get started in the trades?
Well, pretty typical story of a lot of guys in our business. I got started just family business, wanted to get a job, needed money, right? You know, had to go out and have a good time and party with my friends. So I needed money to do that. And, you know, plumbing was available. All I had to do was get in the truck in the morning and work hard. And, you know, that's kind of how it started. It was just convenient. Didn't love it at first at all. I was also 13 years old, so it's kind of hard to love it at 13, right? It makes a little bit of a difference when all you're really doing is hauling the tools around, and, you know, when something needs to be dug, you're good for that. You know, if it takes you all day, they don't care because, you know, you're that guy. That's your job. And then, you know, when you get in, I got into my teenage years and I started liking it a little bit. Started knowing how to do things. You know, I could water pipe a rough or, you know, something like that at 17 years old. So I was useful. I wasn't the grunt anymore, even though I was a young guy. You know, dad pushed me hard and, you know, not like one of the normal crew guys, you know. So real humble start. Nothing spectacular. Didn't go to trade school or anything like that initially. Just hopped in the truck. So
you picked plumbing because it's family business.
Yeah.
Why'd your dad pick plumbing? Do you know?
Well, yeah, I do. Interestingly enough, the guy next door was a plumber. And, you know, just the same old school story. He needed a job. He was 13 as well. It was kind of like a rite of passage, I guess, in the hill home. 13 years old, it was time to dig some ditches. So yeah, same thing. Guy next door, his name is Fred Hemmer, I believe, actually, long gone now, but just had my dad digging ditches every single day. They were doing water services, and they, in the sand, they just hand dig them in Jersey Shore. So they were about 20 feet long, and he'd start every day, and around lunch, Fred would come, put the water service in, and then he'd say, okay, backfill it.
Cover it back up.
Yep. Get back to work. Go in reverse.
That's pretty good. So how did you find your first job away from the family business?
Well, that's a really interesting story.
Those are the best guy.
This is a good one. This actually ends on my wedding night. This story. You know, again, family business. I was, I don't know, probably 26 when I got married. I could do some quick math, but somewhere in that range, 26 years old or so. And you know, we already had 2 kids, and we just went to Jamaica and did the destination wedding. And the only people that came were my parents. It was just one of those, you know, that's how we wanted it. And I was buttoning up my white shirt, wearing my sandals, getting ready to walk out and marry Jenny. And my dad had one of my sons on my hip or my thigh or whatever he was doing. And my dad's like, hey, there's something I just have to tell you. And I said, what? He said, listen, when we go back, you know, we don't have any work. You're not going to have a job. Fortunately, I only had 2 buttons left to do because it just about took the wind out of me. You know, it was one of those things, like I knew we were slowing down. I knew what the economy was. I mean, I knew what time it was. It just, you know, it was one of those things that had to happen. And so now the big decision, right? I have to go marry this girl. I can't see her before the wedding. Like I'm in a pickle. So
no fair warning.
No. I mean, really, truly, deeply, I'm in a spot. So what do? I start my marriage off with the biggest lie you can possibly have. I have no job now, and I'm going to go marry this girl. So we go out to the little pavilion thing on the sand. Lo and behold, the skies turn black. Thunder and lightning. Roger, I'm not kidding you. The whole thing, right? It's just hilarious. And we get through it. We get married. Beautiful, great, everything I could have ever asked for, really. Finally, the party's over. Parents take the kids for the night. We're in the hot tub. I've got enough of drinks in me now, to be honest.
You bet.
And it's killing me. Just right now, I'm a little bit nervous just telling you this story.
I get it.
I was like, hey, babe, something I got to tell you. And, I told her what happened. And she was like kind of not emotional at all. It was really crazy. And I said, hey, listen, the thing in Jenny and I's relationship has always been, I always say, hey, babe, it's going to be okay. And I said, hey, babe, it's going to be okay. As soon as I get back, I got a master's license. I can get a job I can walk into any shop. I know 10 people will hire me. It's not a big deal. I'll make the same money or better. It'll be fine. And she looked right at me and she said, nope, that's it. You've been waiting for this opportunity. Now's the time to go into business. I kind of thought she was crazy. We had no money,
I know the feeling.
Well, no money. I had a 2005 Chevy Silverado pickup. That's what I had, and a skill, and we put both of those things to work.
Great way to start.
Yeah, and I think my first week I made $1,500. It wasn't amazing, but it was my worst week.
So there you go.
Here we are today, and things are dramatically different. So it's been a great experience, but a heck of a way to get started in the trade.
I love that. So first of all, Dave, tell everybody who you are, where you're at, where you're from, what you do.
Sure. My name is Dave Hill. I'm the owner of Express Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling in Ship Bottom, New Jersey, right on the Jersey Shore there. Our office is actually maybe 200 feet from the Atlantic Ocean. It's just a really neat little beach town that is just a ton of fun. Busy as heck right now, all the way through September, October. A lot of fun, beaches every day, surf contests, just, everything's there. Anything you could want in a beach town. It's just a lot of fun. About 2 hours from New York City, hour and a half from the city. So we get a lot of people from the city up and down. It's just a really different, business. We're really only busy about 7 months of the year. The other 5 months, they actually turn the traffic lights off. Because there's just no one there.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
It is.
So that's pretty cool.
We literally winterize the homes and people shut the heat off. Just really a different experience. And that's my business. We've grown it to 5 million and it's at a very, very healthy profit margin, probably one of the healthiest on the entire East Coast. We've built a great brand, a fun brand because we're on the beach. We got a shark. It's super fun place where we live and work. So we take advantage of every opportunity to have as much fun with it as we can.
What did you learn starting out, say, as an apprentice?
Humility.
that helps you move on. I mean, there's a lot of that in the very beginning.
Yeah. So, as an apprentice, really, what is it? The first thing you want to do is just establish that you can be a valuable part of the team. I think that was the hardest part, just kind of figuring out where my hands are supposed to be and where I'm supposed to stand and, how not to cut my fingers off and, not be too slow to hold the team up. I personally started a new construction, which is a great place for any plumber to start and really learn the foundation of what you're doing. So, as an apprentice, it was really important for me to be able to contribute to the team. And then once I was no longer in the way, learning to contribute, probably the hardest thing that you could really do, because back then there was no trade school or, no podcast to watch. There was no Google yet.
Yes,
right. So really what you learned was very old school, just like, a lot of mechanics learn to be mechanics in their dad's garages. That's back then kind of where the trades were. Not like today where we have access to so many things to learn.
So did you learn stuff like that with your dad before you started playing? I remember when I was in first, second, third grade, helping my dad work on the cars, and it may just be pumping the brakes to bleed them, but I was always out there when it was time.
In the Hill House, you don't really get the opportunity to deny work. So yeah, there was a lot of that. And usually, I'll be honest with you, cleaning the truck was a big day in my life. Anytime it happened, that was like, we didn't have a shop, we home base. So, my dad would just empty this thing. And, you're learning what copper fittings are. You're learning what sanitary fittings are. You have to, by default, learn these things.
Absolutely.
And then I think I would get in the way at some point, because I would always wind up with a piece of 2-inch PVC and a vise with a hacksaw in my hand, and he'd have me cutting off 1/4 inch.
Cut them straight.
Which I don't know if I ever cut any of them straight, but eventually we figured it out.
You got lots of practice, though. That's good.
Yeah, found out I was left-handed early on.
And I like that. One thing that I talk about is becoming a great tradesman. And I like that when you started, you're like, look, I wanted to get to the point where I brought value. A lot of people don't understand that when you get in the trades, you're not an asset. You're a liability. You are costing me money.
Not only and liability everywhere, every way, yes.
And you mentioned a while ago where to keep your hands. The one place you don't keep them is in your pocket.
That's right.
And I used to walk up to people like, why are your hands in your pocket? Well, I'm waiting for no.
Something needs sweeping, picking up,
and
go to the truck.
Taught them that a lot.
When all else fails, go to the truck, right?
So why was it important for you to become a good tradesman?
Again, in the Hill household, there wasn't a whole lot of choice. Back then, this is what we're going to do. Not that it was a harsh thing. It was just the expectation. Back then, the expectation was you're gonna work really hard, and working really hard means bringing value to Hill House. I mean, there is no free lunch. So my dad pushed me really hard. It was from day one. The stories. I mean, I could tell you 100 stories where, one of my favorite ones was, it was just, Jersey gets cold, and I'm allergic to the cold, believe it or not.
Yeah. Welcome to Texas.
That's why I'm in Dallas with you today.
There you go.
So I remember being freezing cold and having crews of 5, 6, 7 guys doing bigger roughs. We would do like big houses up in Rumson and stuff like that. 9,000-10,000 square foot homes, 7-8 bathrooms. Mm-hmm. And I was foreman at 20 years old. I was running those crews. My dad would kind of pop in, make sure everything was good, go to the next. He had a couple of crews going for a while there. He was doing quite well. So I remember him bringing Dunkin' Donuts, the box of Joe and a thing of donuts up to the job site, setting it up where the guys could have coffee at 9:30 or whatever it was. And I remember, I was marking holes or drilling holes or whatever the heck I was doing, and going through it. And I'd always let the guys go because they just, whatever. As the foreman, you don't go first, you go last.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's
leaders eat last.
Yeah. So I remember going over, everybody was like already sitting down, it's cold. They're all sitting down, trying to keep warm, have a cup of coffee. It's nice, right? It's like, oh man, I am looking forward to this cup of coffee. This is like a complicated rough and, whatever's going on. And, I go over there and my dad looks at me and goes, what? Thank you. And I said, I'm just going to grab a quick cup. And I know I'm in trouble a little bit. Right. Like the tone is very obvious to everyone, on the job site, right? My dad's a serious guy. So, I'm just getting a quick cup of coffee right back. Listen, if you're drinking coffee and they're drinking coffee, when they're done drinking coffee, what are they going to have to do? You have to be ahead. And at the time, it hurt. Like it hurt. It was like, man, I went home that day and I was like, what a jerk. I couldn't even have a cup of coffee, definitely went home and complained to Jen that night. Oh yeah. For sure. Like looking back, it was a valuable lesson, but it's sometimes hard to see that, especially coming from family. But looking back, he was teaching me to bring value to my team. So that was a really great experience looking back.
I like that. So after your dad, were there any other mentors that you had that, or even not even after your dad, that maybe worked with you along the way that you just learned neat things like that? I can look back, I got in the union after plumbing for 17 years. And luckily, the plumbers that I worked for taught me great work ethic. It's like, look, as a foreman, you're the last one to sit down, the first one to get up, and you're constantly making sure you're staying ahead of everybody else. And I love that, because when I got in the union, and I don't know if you've ever worked union or not, but you're a rat. You don't know anything. You're useless. You shouldn't even be a plumber. Don't know how you got your license.
Yeah.
So I made it my goal to try to outperform them every day that I worked around them.
Yeah.
Wasn't very hard to do. Just be consistent.
Put your head down.
8 hours work. Yeah. I'm going to give you 8 hours work. You're paying me for 8.
Or 8.5 and 8. That's okay too.
Yeah. There you go. And always over deliver.
Right.
And I love that. Were there any other mentors that you had, people that just taught you little specific lessons like, man, that's a great way to do this?
Well, yeah, mostly my mistakes. Made a lot of those.
We learned a lot from those.
Amazingly, up until just 2 years ago, my dad actually, once his business he was done doing that, he actually worked with me. So we literally worked together outside of a few year period my entire career. So I learned a ton from him. He's 50 years of plumbing experience is pretty valuable to have by your side. Mm-hmm. I also learned a ton from, believe it or not, my employees. I hired a lot of guys through the years that were very sharp, learning just little tidbits here. You hire somebody that came from New York City and did a ton of boilers. I mean, when they come down to the Jersey Shore, we have very few boilers.
Right.
That guy is a wealth of information. And I just love to run a call with them and like, oh man, a boiler call came in. I want to see this guy in action. And it's like 7 minutes. He already knows what it is. He's already got the part in his hand walking from the truck or whatever it is. I love seeing people that are that fluid and that good at what they do. They just know, you get that call over the phone and they say, oh, well, the toilet's kind of gurgling. And then when they flush upstairs, the sink's going, you know what that is, right?
Absolutely.
But isn't that a beautiful thing that we both smiled and said, oh, we love that main line. That's the P1, put it on the board. Let's go. I love that our business allows us to just do what we love without even trying to think anymore. It just becomes, oh, okay, this is what you do. There's a set process. We go, we do it, and it's easy. That's what I love about plumbing.
In plumbing, it's funny because I used to teach continuing education here. And I'd have a room full of 43 people, I think is what the number was. And I'd look at them and say, plumbing is very forgiving. And they'd all kind of look at me like, no, it's not. It's like, well, think about this. All 43 of us could plumb. And at the time I'm in the Union Student Training Center, the Joint Apprentice Training Center. And I'm like, guys, look at this building that we're in. We could plumb it 43 different ways. The water comes in there, the water goes out there, but we can plumb it 43 different ways. And it be legal, pass inspection, and never be a problem. The difference in it is who's more efficient, who uses less materials. That's your big deal right there. And, it's a neat thing about plumbing is that you've got room to learn a lot of different ways to do something.
For sure.
And a lot of times when I'm working, I think back, okay, man, I learned this from Austin. Or you know what? There was a plumber in a union. I learned not to do this the way he did it because he had a lot of problems. And it's neat looking back at an apprentice and thinking about your dad saying, stay ahead of them. I love being in the union. Like if I'm up on a ladder hooking up a VAV or something and you're like, hey, I need, and you look down, the apprentice has already got like 2 90s and a T right there in his hand.
Yeah.
They're already clean. And it's like, okay, you've been watching, you've been learning, you've been paying attention.
My dad always said the right 2 guys can work like 3.
Oh yeah.
You put the right 2 guys together, they get in sync, they get in the rhythm. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
It does. Yeah. Everything goes so good.
Think, 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 think. I know what you need. You know what I need. We work together and it just gets done.
So what did you do? You think what was the big trait that you had, the quality you had that made you stand out?
I think with me, I'm just always that person you can count on. People just always look to me for when it gets a little tough. I'm the guy that is going to step up.
I like that.
Yeah, and people know, if I've got your back, I've got it.
You learn stuff like that from your dad.
That's true.
We're taught that way. Some of us are taught that way when we're young. It's like
growing up in the South helps as well. Definitely, you get a very, very good foundation of right and wrong when you grow up in the South. I spent some years in Virginia when I was young, and just the right age where I definitely learned morals and values and believing in God and everything that's really important, not only in our personal lives, but should be in our professional.
Do you think journeymen that come in today, or apprentices that become journeymen, either way, the people that work the best, the people that separate themselves apart from everybody else, and you said, look, I've brought in some great people, learned from some great people. Seth Godin has a book called The Dip about if you're not trying to be the very best, why not? The best get better opportunities, the best make more money. Do you agree with that?
I'm a performance-based person. So for me, I agree with that. With the, I guess I would just like to throw in that with me, if you're putting in the effort, I will invest in you. You don't have to be hitting home runs.
Yeah, everybody doesn't hit a home run every day.
Well, you don't start off hitting home runs.
You bet.
So, if you're trying, if you're applying yourself, if, that guy that comes in the meeting at 8:03, don't be that guy at Express. Don't be that guy, because we're going to lock the door next time. Be the guy that's there at 7:30 and hey, is there anything I can do to help set up this training? Be that guy.
Yeah.
Because that guy is going to get the most sales training from me, the most soft skills training from me, the most attention, because I'm going to invest in people that are motivated, because those are the people that are always the top performers.
And back then it didn't happen a lot. Did your dad invest in training for y'all as a company at the time? No, I never worked for a company that did when I was younger.
No, there was nothing.
Was it around back then? I mean, to be honest, because I don't know.
But there was nothing in my area that was short of, if you didn't want to go to English class, you went to Vokes. You know what I mean? We had that, and we all took advantage of that. That and ag shop, right? But no, there was no formal programs. There were, there was no YouTube, there was no Google, there was really nothing to learn, other than hopefully you got in a good spot where someone actually wanted to teach you. Because if you didn't, you just got washed around. I know a lot of guys growing up that were in the trade as well, and they just kind of got kicked around. And I can't say it was because they were necessarily not motivated guys. I know one guy just kind of flopped around, just didn't go to good places.
You talked about learning from good guys. Have you ever had guys you worked around that you were like, that's not the way I want to learn how to do that?
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, there's tons of that. I mean, there are guys that it's good enough. Just, oh man, that is just fingernails on a chalkboard.
I know.
It's like, what? I don't really know what that means. I think we need to sit down and have a discussion. I don't even want to talk about the job anymore. I just want to talk about what is good enough means.
You know, it's funny. The one that used to get me is, looks great from my house. And I'm like,
that's that tail light warranty guy.
I can still see it in my mind. And it's funny because
even sheetrock over it. That's another one. Yeah. Oh boy.
Well, even one of the first plumbers that I worked with, who is, a stickler for, he's the one that taught me all letters are turned up. They face the same direction.
Oh, man,
no hub bands go the same way. But when you'd ask him, hey, how's that look? He'd say 30,000 feet up in an airplane looks great. It's like, I don't care how it looks from up there. But that was his attitude.
Right.
But when it came time to do it, it was perfect every single time. And I remember asking him one time, I said, why do you do things perfect every time? And he was a service plumber at the time. And he said, Roger, I never want to be at the big box store, at the hardware store, or out at a restaurant with my kids and have somebody walk up and say, you did us wrong. you did a bad job at our house. You put in crappy material. And I'm like, dude,
that's the old school way, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, back then, my dad never dreamed about having a mega business. He never thought about 30 trucks, right?
Yeah.
He thought about paying a mortgage,
keeping families fed.
Yeah, providing a good life. We'd go boating on the weekends and stuff like that. And it was fine. It was a great living. When times were tough, times were tough. And when times were good, times were good. And that's a plumber's life. Especially, taking back 20, 30 years. And that was more normal. There wasn't a great level of motivation. It was more like, instead of being employed by someone, you kind of employed yourself and made a great living. And, on Saturdays, you didn't answer the phone. The voicemail got those.
Yeah. The answering machine.
Yeah, that's right. The answering machine.
So after you started your company, and I know you believe in training now.
Yeah.
What do you think about these companies that don't train their people? They're just like, well, if I train them, they'll leave.
Yeah.
Worse is what if you don't train them and they stay with you forever?
But what if they stay?
Yeah.
That would be even worse if they stay and you don't train them.
The truth.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that, I think that as business owners, we have this very backward thought process of, just trying to protect ourselves and our company. And like, cause we worked so hard to get there and it was a difficult road and I understand that, but I firmly believe that we would all be better served educating all of our employees, sharing everything, even the data, just have it all out there. Let them see what progress they're making. Mm-hmm. Let them see that they're making a difference. But if you're afraid to train your people, I mean, you're doomed. That's a race to the bottom. I don't even know how to answer that.
So when you started your business, did you ever have that point in the beginning where you thought, I'm crazy for doing this?
Well, yeah, the beginning, the middle, 3/4 of the way through,
right
everything up until the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So, well, yeah, we all have those months where it's hard to pay the bills. That big supply bill comes in. You're like, well, how much? What? How'd that happen? Then you start going through all the invoices. Oh man, they charged. It's all right. Uh-oh. And then you start calling every person you can that owes you anything that, yeah. So yeah, you have a lot of highs and lows. I don't know a business owner that's successful today that either hasn't already gone out of business once or twice or darn near went out a couple of times or, didn't struggle for a few years without any real profitability. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be profitable. That's the idea, right? So yeah, we've all had those moments of doubt. I'm sure you did as well. I don't think there's a business owner out there that has done it for an extended period of time that hasn't seen both good and bad times.
So in the first 10 years of your business, what was the hardest part?
Well, the first few years was just staying afloat. I mean, really just, staying afloat. And then to your point, up and down, cyclical, could never ride out a good cycle and maintain, always would just, lose everything we just put back in, the story, when times are good, guys are out buying beach houses. When times are bad, they're selling them, they go bye-bye. That was probably the struggle the first 10 years, understanding that people were going to be the future of Express was probably the most difficult part, because I was a very hard driving, typical old school business owner for a lot of the beginning years of Express. So I kind of grew up that way, and it was like, hey, we're just going to go and grind and do our thing. And I didn't invest as much as I should have. Took a long time to learn that.
So one of the things that was hardest on me is learning about the training. The union had training. You could go get your med gas. You could go get certain things. But open shop, and I talk to people all the time, it's just like, look, most plumbers' biggest problems, and not just plumbers, electricians, HVAC techs, that professional license. Once most people get that license in their pocket, they stop learning. Yeah. They're like,
yep,
I got in this trade to become a plumber.
Got to put in a lot of hours now.
Here I go. Now I just work.
Yeah.
And, one thing that I try to teach them is look, you can learn leadership, you can learn management, you can learn personality styles, communication, emotional intelligence. There's so many different things that you can learn along the way.
It really is amazing that everything you just said has nothing to do with the mechanical skill.
Not a thing.
Nothing.
You don't need to touch a tool for any one of us.
And some of the most valuable things, I mean, emotional intelligence.
Huge.
Come on.
One of the biggest things, and I heard a young lady speak about it this last week. She's probably 30-something. She was talking about it, and what she does is she goes around and teaches emotional intelligence because she used to sell medical type stuff.
Right.
And she says, I can close 90% of my calls in 10 minutes on the phone. 90%.
Wow.
And she says, but I know people. And she says, she's carrying a emotional intelligence 2.0 with her.
Yep. Read it.
And you bet. And that she turned to a page and there's a part in there. She says, every time you can make your EQ score go up 1 point as an employee, that's worth about an extra $1,300 a year. And she's like, I can't tell you how many times I've read this book. And she said, no, I teach this book. She says, but every time I teach it, I need to work more on this. I need to work more on this. And to listen to this young lady talk, I was just like, man, what a way to go. Because I believe in that book. I've gone through the training.
Yeah. My wife turned me on to that book, and I got to tell you, she's always right.
Julie turned me on to it. So it's like, there's a lot of stuff we don't know.
They're trying to tell us something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You better learn something.
Yeah. Yep.
I like that. Why do you think, okay, so let me ask you this. Coaches and mentors after you started your own company, other than your dad?
First and foremost, Mike Zeller. He's coached my business through all of its success, to be honest with you. He has provided just so much information to me, well above and beyond what his coaching duties were, and has taught me a ton, especially on the management side. That's something that we just didn't understand as tradesmen, just kind of growing up the old conventional way. I mean, human resources.
Culture is, we got a job to do. Let's do it. Go.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
that's the way we were raised. That's
right.
the way we were taught.
I mean, the most culture we had was having beers after work, I guess, on Friday, right? That was our culture back then. Go. That was all we got. But, yeah, I mean, Mike really helped me through management. He helped me develop culture as well. Actually, that was one of the main things that started to move the needle for us. We learned to like one another, and then we learned to work together better. And it takes a little bit of that investing in your company's culture to kind of get that going. So Mike Zeller was a huge inspiration to me in a lot of ways. Just kind of taught me everything I know about management in particular, and learning to control situations without over managing them as well, which is something that I'll struggle with. Old school guys as well.
You bet. We want to control it all. Yeah. One of my favorite coaches was Michael Gerber, who wrote the E-Myth books, my very first coach.
Wow.
And I still think back and listen to the things he'd tell me back then. And I'm just like, man, such a long way to go. Still. But I love the fact, Michael Gerber was not teaching me the trades.
Right.
My leadership coaches, my management coaches, Rebecca teaching EQ.
Oh, absolutely.
Or in leadership, I've done both there. And I don't remember, she didn't teach EQ, a different Brandon did. But she taught leadership, and I'm like, I'm listening to people teach me things that we're not talking how to put pipe together.
Right.
We're not talking how to not have leaks. We're not talking any of that. And that is a thing. I listened to Tommy Mello talk one time, and he says, you want to be the people that people want to come to work for.
That's right.
I love that.
That is in a nutshell what it's about. If you're, I don't have to walk through my parking lot in the mornings and talk to every guy. I don't. I choose to do that.
Right.
And when you make that choice to invest,
and you want to do that,
I want to do that. I absolutely want to do that. And you know, I value that time. That's actually my time to be like, I was a technician for a very long time, and I enjoyed that. Like I liked it. So, you know, you kind of have a miss. Do I want to grind in a truck all day? No, but it's kind of cool to be with the guys and, you know, look at what they pulled out of the ground the day before. Oh my God, how did that work the last 10 years? You know, that type of thing. Spend a little bit of time, and, you know, maybe learn that, you know, the new apprentice has a 9-month-old that just took his first steps last week. That's a pretty cool thing to start your day learning about stuff like that. And when you start culture and developing those relationships, it becomes a culture-driven company. Small investments. It's not really. I don't believe in the money wheel and the prize wheel, and you know, I think they're fun and cool. But developing culture is really in your own hands to do as a leader of any business. Very straightforward, face to face. It's not something that money shouldn't buy it.
I had been a plumber for 32 years, 34 years, almost 35 years. I called a friend who I knew owned a plumbing, electrical, HVAC company over the other side of town. So I knew we weren't competing, not in his area. Turned out later, like, you could be my next door neighbor. I don't care.
Right.
And he's like, have you heard of these best practice groups? And I'm like, no. It blows my mind. There are groups out there that can help you set your pricing, set your uniforms, build your logos, build your brand, build culture.
Yeah. And most importantly, actually start to understand the business that you're in. And what
know
you're
your numbers.
doing.
What do you need to look at? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, the first 10 years of my career, I had never seen a financial statement. You know, now it's like, it's the 11th. Where is it? What's going on here? We're making phone calls. Let's get this thing done, because we got to see where we're at, what we need to do, what changes need to take place, you know, and you can't do that without reviewing everything, not just your financials, you know, your daily metrics, your KPIs, all the things that are important to your business. You know, are we selling clubs? How come we're not selling clubs? You know, what are we watching? Because that's what's going to do well, and what we're not watching is going to fall off. And then we got to do the rotation, and, you know, and that's why all the training and the constant reinforcement, it all really does have a very nice flow if you understand it. But without a best practice group, you know, there's probably somebody out there that would figure it out. It's just probably not anybody in this room would have done it individually. Just doing the job was enough for me, man. You know, I couldn't figure out how to reinvent the wheel, but I could figure out how to take their system and put the wheels on my car, go forward.
To me, the neat thing is knowing, like you said, KPIs, numbers, things you've got to look at.
Yeah.
It was put to me, God, actually back in the very beginning when we first got into the group, one of the coaches came out and talked. He said, you know, a lot of y'all don't know if you made money last year until April 15th, when your CPA tells you if you made money or if you lost money.
Right. Yep. We've all been there. File the extension. We'll see, you know, in October.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. Right. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And now it's neat, because if you look at KPIs, you look at your numbers, like you said, you look at yours on the 11th or whatever, man, you know, hey, last month we made this much profit. Or
now we're all computerized, right? We've got real CRMs. We're on Service Titan. You know, I can track every metric in my business. I can tell you what gross margin I had on any job that's been done at Express right now by pulling up my cell phone if I want to. You know, I could share that information in the next 90 seconds.
See, and to me, that's phenomenal. That's something I did when I did big commercial jobs. We'd break jobs down by areas, and I could tell you, hey, in this area, on this code, domestic water, we had 23 hours. It took 18.
Right.
Over here on the cast iron pipe, drain, waste, and vent system, we had 43 hours. It took 60.
Right.
And that was easy. To break it down one individual ticket, one individual day, stuff like that at a time. Yeah. And that was hard for me, because I'm like, look, I'm the big picture guy.
Right.
You want me to get down into the minutia on every little detail, man, that's tough to do.
Well, and now it's just free, right? It's just free
the
information.
System will do it for you.
It literally is in 3 clicks. We'll probably do 60 jobs today, and I could review all 60 of them in under an hour and tell you what the gross margin is on every one of them with just a click, 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 click. And okay, to the next one, click, click, click. It's just that simple. You can track everything. And that's what the service industry in particular, that's where understanding your numbers, if you're watching those margins constantly, then your financial statement at the end of the month is not going to be a surprise. It's probably going to be exactly what you said it was going to be on the 29th or 30th of the month before when you set the goal to with your team. If you're tracking those metrics every single day, you know exactly where you're at. And when you need to adjust, do it now, not the last 3 days a month. Oh my God, we got to make $187,000 extra. Yeah, not happening.
So what should all first-time business owners know? If there's somebody listening right now and they're like, look, I've either just started my business or, you know what, I've already given notice. I'm
right.
Setting up the truck next week, turning on the website, firing up the phone number, whatever. What do you think all first-time business owners need to know?
I think that they need to understand that it will not be easy, right? This is going to be something that they're going to have to work hard for. You're going to have to want it more than anybody's ever wanted it. I think that first and foremost, I don't think I realized how hard it would be. But if you stay the course, there's literally no limit to what is possible for a motivated person, especially today in the trades. There is more ability to grow now than ever before. There's more information. It's simpler. You get, a new guy should go out and do his very best, get involved with a best practice group as soon as possible. That, I wasted the first 10 years of owning a business because I didn't understand how to move the needle.
Yeah,
or what it even meant.
2 or 3, yeah.
Get involved with a best practice group because chances are you have no idea. Just because you understand how to put plumbing in doesn't mean you understand the business behind that. Those are definitely 2 very different animals. So, get involved, get a mentor. Maybe you don't have that type of budget. Get a mentor. Reach out to somebody who's local. You had mentioned, you reached out to your friend and you said, hey, you could have been right next door. The reality is a really good business owner is going to actually welcome you and say, hey, listen, this is what we do. I mean, come into Express. You can walk into my shop tomorrow. I'll walk you around. I don't care if you're from down the street. I'll show you our KPIs. It's not a secret. It really doesn't matter. The way that we do business is very straightforward. That's the whole point, isn't it?
That's what it's about. I had a guy down the street message me one day. He says, look, I want to talk to you, but I know you won't help me. And I replied, like, why wouldn't I help you?
All right.
He says, well, I want to learn social media and I'm in your area. Like, okay. He said, you'll help me? I said, well, why wouldn't I? He said, because we're competing. Like there's 8 million people in the DFW area.
Right.
I can't get to all of them.
Here's the thing. He'll probably be an asset to you.
Yeah.
The reality is that person is a rarity, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to stumble upon someone else want to do that. So you're going to want to develop that relationship. I hope he's listening.
You bet. It works. It's a good thing. How did you go, or when did you go from starting your business to growing your business?
There was probably 10 years where we just stuck in $1 million. Just, 900,000, $1 million, 1.1. And that was just that was my ceiling.
Right.
Business owners, it's your ceiling.
It's
no one else's ceiling. It's your ceiling, and everybody's ceiling is at a different place at a different time. But that was a ceiling that we just couldn't get through. And that's when the best practice group came in. We doubled our revenue in 18 months. That was a serious eye opener for Jenny and I. I just knew that I didn't know how to take it to the next level. Literally had no clue what to do. And fortunately, I just kind of said, okay, well, if they know what to do, I'm just going to do it. And I just blindly did it and doubled revenue in 18 months. And we've grown it to the point where probably can't get much bigger where we're at. Pretty much topped it out.
And I guess I've never really thought about that. If your service area,
our service area is ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can't just go bigger and bigger. Then you're like, well, we're driving half a day to get there and half a day to get back.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It's not worth it. Right.
Yeah,
I've never thought about that.
Our market is, it's really special. We have amazing clientele. It's a fun place to work, but it's 18 miles long and 4 blocks wide. I had my business, Mike Zeller was actually just out there a couple months ago. He came out to do a manager's training with a couple of close members, and he was just blown away. He's like, how do you even make it, like, how did you even mine that here? Yeah. And it's a neat little thing. It's a lot of fun, but we really are tapped, because if we send somebody off over the bridge, they're not coming back. They can't get back. So, I kind of thought about it yesterday. We went down to Heath and Rockwall down there and had lunch on Lake Ray Hubbard.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous.
You don't want to live there.
Well, I mean, you don't want to try to get back to DFW. We were like, oh man, what's going on here? And there was no accident. It's just, they're driving pilings or whatever they're doing, and everybody's watching, and kind of the same thing, except with us, literally it would take 4 hours to get back.
Even when they're not driving pilings, there's 2 bridges.
Yeah.
One from Rockwall over to this side of town.
That's it.
And
in or out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you can go all the way up to Greenville and around and take half a day. So, yes.
Same thing.
Yeah, it is. But if you live out there and that becomes your area, don't get me wrong, that's a very good area too.
It's definitely
there to Greenville. Think about how many miles that is. It's another good opportunity.
I may have spent some time driving around there yesterday.
Yeah, it's a neat place. It really is. When you started out opening your own company, what kind of marketing did you do then? And what are you doing different now?
Oh man, it was so silly. We tried every little, so whatever was cost effective, right? That's how it started, so we would go into a senior development, but then, we would only do it for 3 months and then not see anything by our amazing tracking system, which didn't exist. And then, you'd quit and then you go do something else cheap, the Val Pack direct mail, $800 for a month was like a huge budget. You get 2 jobs and you try it again, and then you get 2 more, and you slowly just try things and see what worked and see what worked and see what worked. And local publications actually started working for us when we actually started to stick. When we had enough we were able to actually have the longevity to stay. And then it goes obviously to newspapers, and then it went to television was the first big one, right? That was like, holy moly, we're on TV, this is cool, and it's working. It was one of those things where you shot your first not so good commercial.
Yeah, I've seen some of those too.
Yeah,
actually, I've shot some videos like that myself.
Yeah, and and it still sticks. And then you start shooting good commercials, and it gets real hot out, and the phone's ringing like crazy. And it's a good time, and then you can explain. Now we're into radio. We do we're everywhere that I can put a shark. That's where I want to be. I had my local supply house sales guy called me actually Monday and said, I was all the way up just short of New York City, and I'm talking to this plumber, and he's like, I'm telling him how I like to develop our relationship. And when he first took my account on, I think we were doing like $60,000 a year with that supply house. And when we ended, we were doing almost $2 million a year with that supply house. And he's telling this great story about how fun it was to watch Express grow and how he helped Express grow, which he greatly did. And he's telling this story, and he's like, oh, that's the guy with the shark. It's 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
How does he know? And that was he's like, I can't believe that dude is so far away from your market. He's 10 markets away from you. Jersey's super segmented, and he knows everything about your business. He's like, how does that happen?
Well, it means you're doing something right, because people do that. They see people do stuff right. They want to, a great friend of mine used to call it R&D. not research and development, rip off and duplicate.
Heck yeah.
It's what we do.
The best thing in best practice groups.
You bet.
You get to steal from your friends.
You bet.
Yeah.
And they'll sit down and tell you what they're doing and why they're doing it and what else they tried and how it didn't work.
And what not to do, right?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, we tried that and that didn't work.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't go down that road. You could try it,
out.
but here's how it went for us.
So anybody getting into business right now, or maybe that just is in business and really wants to grow, what would you recommend for them? Somebody starting out and somebody where it's like, look, it's time to take that next step.
I think those are the same people. They're just at different stages in their career. Realize you're going to hit every stage you hit. You're going to have a growth spell, and then you'll have a plateau and what could feel like a ceiling. The difference between what we will do moving forward in any business, if I start a new business tomorrow, I'm not going to be stuck at $1 million for 10 years. I'm going to be stuck at $1 million for 10 minutes.
Right.
I understand the process to move the needle to the next step. You have to understand that process. So that most likely will mean a best practice group or a mentor, some kind of coach.
Both.
Yeah, both. As many. Let's be honest. Get as many people involved.
You bet.
As you can, and don't just ask people for things. If it's okay to ask for something when you need it, but also bring value to that relationship. How can I help you?
Right.
Listen, you're really great at this, Roger. I excel at this. Is this an area that I could help you in? Is there anything that or do you need a forum? Do you need a this? What do you need? How can I help? Chances are you can bring just as much value when you're asking for something as when you need something. And when you build that type of a relationship, a very open book, hey, whatever you need, I'm here. Mm-hmm. And you answer that call when it comes and answer it immediately. Like when you answer that call immediately, that guy will every single time do the same thing.
Reciprocity. It is. It's, John
Maxwell
gold. Talks about it because it works.
It's gold.
You bet.
When like-minded people have like goals and they're willing to share and help one another, mm-hmm. it just moves the needle that much faster. Everybody wins. The old school, don't help him or what have you. It's antiquated. We need to let go of that a little bit.
Yeah, I love that because I was able to walk into Gus's office and talk to him, and he's look at my deal. He said, you need to raise your prices. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. And I'm
sure.
like,
helping you.
Man, this is amazing.
Helping you.
Yeah.
And how valuable was that? Let's be honest. 12 minutes of his time.
Yeah.
Because he just immediately looked at it and said,
bring your price book in. Yep. Sorry, you need to raise your prices. You're not charging enough.
Right.
It's like,
you're not priced for profit. Let's go.
You've grown to $5 million a year. What's next for Dave Hill? What's next for Express?
Express is always going to be there. And it's always going to grow. It's always going to be a strong presence on the Jersey Shore and a brand that I am super proud of. Really enjoyed developing the brand and the fun of the brand, all the cool stuff, sharks dancing up on stage and surf contests and just, you name it. I've got a book of just the coolest pictures because of where we are and what we do.
You bet.
So that's always going to continue to grow. But the next stage for Dave and Jenny is going to be in Dallas. We're going to be opening up a home service company here. We're actively looking to attain companies at this time, and we're looking to hopefully find a couple of good fits and develop them and develop a very, very strong brand. We are super excited about the new brand that we're working on, so we can't wait to share that with you as well.
I love that. Well, good. Anybody that I should interview in here?
I would love to see you interview Brandon Jones. Okay. I think that he's right here in DFW. He's a really smart guy. Has a lot of interesting information on hiring in today's age. He's been wildly successful with recruiting with multiple companies that I'm aware of, and it definitely would be something that would be helpful to all these guys. What's the hardest thing in the world, right? Getting good people.
You bet. So one last question. Knowing what you know now, you go back to the house in Jersey where little Dave walked out the first day to go to his trades job, whether it was with Dad, whether it was later on, probably with Dad.
Yeah.
Because it was the first day. If you could stop him and talk to him right now, tell him what you know now, what is the one thing that you would tell him?
Wow. Jeez. One thing I get to tell him. Just stay the course. It's worth it in the end. Your dreams will come true, because they really have. The trades have made. I mean, I had lunch with Jenny yesterday at Lake Ray Hubbard, and I told her, I said, we have traveled the world. We have seen everything. We have friends and probably close to all the states. It's been such an unexpected ride. I can't explain how wonderful it's been to have met all the people I've met, to have been able to experience just worldliness and going out to amazing dinners in Texas with good friends and having the best steaks that are just amazing. And, the whole experience has just been, I can't believe that I lived. I really have it. At 44 years old, I've lived a complete full life that I could have never imagined. So it's been amazing.
Dave, this has been great. I appreciate you coming in. Thanks for sharing all your information. Look forward to seeing what you do next.
All right. Thank you, Roger. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.